Hello once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. Welcome back to my channel. My name is AngelasSoapBox. You're watching AngelasSoapBox, where I always say what you are thinking. Oh, this piece of hair is bugging me already. All right. Already shot this video once. It was super long. Let's try and make it shorter, shall we? If you are not subscribed to my channel, I sure would appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button, comment on this video, share my content with your friends, especially your leftist ones, because they truly hate my guts. And for me, that's a badge of honor. Now, before we jump into all the creamy goodness the left brings us this week, I want to dedicate this week's sea turtle killing plastic straw to the Supreme Court. Remember, like, way in the Wayback Machine on Monday? Yeah, everything is moving so fast that the Supreme Court decision on not to hear the election fraud cases just happened 5 days ago, and it honestly feels like it was 3 weeks ago. But Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh are such a terrible disappointment so far to conservatives and to people who just want fairness and transparency and to really find out what happened in this election. And not only did they not hear any evidence, they basically said that nobody has any standing and the election is over, so it's moot. So before the election, when these cases were brought, they said, you don't have any damages shown, so we're going to punt it until after the election. And now that the election is over and we have a terrific amount of solid, tangible, hardcore evidence that this election, there's a lot of irregularities and anomalies, if you will, they won't hear the cases. So once again, the American people, who I believe overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, I think this election was stolen from him, but more than that, it was stolen from us. We haven't had our day in court still. And so Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, especially after everything the left did to you, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I think what happens to people when they get seated on the court or they get to Washington, D.C., is that they become very swampy because all of a sudden they realize their children have to go to school here, their spouses have to interact, they have to interact, and so they want to get along. And look, it's a human thing to want to get along and not be at each other's throats all the time. But it's another thing when you are put in a position because you're expected to be a conservative and be a liberty-minded, freedom-minded person, knowing full well that the left is going to come for your throat no matter what. So why not stand for something? Why not stand for something you believe in and follow the law as written, as opposed to just, oh, willy-nilly, we're just going to do what we want because we don't want to get yelled at by John Roberts or CNN or MSNBC. It's really, really pathetic, actually. So I was debating on whether it was going to be Supreme Court or would it be Hasbro to get the straw this week. But I decided with the Supreme Court because, again, the American people have had no day in court. No one has seen or debated the evidence. And let me tell you, the evidence is overwhelming that this election was stolen. If you have not seen Mike Lindell's absolute proof, I will link it down below. I will also link the website, Here's the Evidence, so you will be able to read for yourself what the evidence is and how egregious this entire election fraud truly is. But I digress. I don't want to belabor it too much longer because the meat of this week is going to be focused on the woke psychopaths. Now, you may have heard that Hasbro, the toy company, decided it would be a great idea to make a genderless Mr. Potato Head. Take away the Mr. and the Miss Potato Head, and it's just a genderless, potato head. And to which I say, these people, these woke psychopaths, they like sit around and think of just what can we find next to tear down? What American institution or what's something that people like that we can completely take a dump on and ruin? And they thought, well, sure, Mr. Potato Head, as you do. I mean, why not Mr. Potato Head? Pretty soon they're going to get rid of Barbie in general because Barbie is too thin. Remember years ago they said Barbie's too thin and too white, so we need to have different kinds of Barbies. Okay, that's fine. Have a black Barbie and a brown Barbie, whatever, that's fine. And then they had to make Barbie a little more voluptuous because that, they were fat shaming all the little girls who were playing with skinny Barbies. And now they've decided to make Mr. Potato Head genderless. Now, I will say this, I give normal America credit because there's only so much we're going to take. And, so many of this country has been locked down and cooped up, and we have to wear masks, and all this scam of the coronavirus has been going on, and the woke psychopaths completely destroying every bit of our culture. Anything they can take a wrecking ball to, they will. But normal America said, you're not touching Mr. Potato Head. So within a day, Hasbro backed down and said, okay, we'll still have Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head. Whew. Thank God that Bay of Pigs incident was averted. But, Hasbro clearly was having some genderqueer, non-binary, whatever, working in their design department saying, I'm very triggered by Mr. Potato Head having the male gender and the female gender. We really need to do away with that because that's progressive. It's progressive to have a genderless society. And what's funny is that, who else thought we should have a genderless society? I'm watching this documentary called about Heaven's Gate, okay? Heaven's Gate was that cult that believed that they were going to be taken into heaven by UFOs about 20 years ago. And at the end of the evolution, if you will, of this cult, the leader believed because he was gay, he couldn't stand the fact that he was gay, so he wanted to kill any maleness about himself. So he started saying that we should live in a genderless world, and there are no differences between men and women, and any differences there are should be wiped out and eliminated entirely. Now you tell me, wasn't the lunatic leader of Heaven's Gate, boy, he was telegraphing what was happening today. That man, I'm sorry, that pod person was ahead of his time, because now we have an entire political movement that wants to tell us that gender is something we can choose at will. It's in our heads, really. I mean, has nothing to do with our genitalia or chromosomes. No. We can just pluck a gender from the sky and say this is what we are. Now, speaking of the gender Nazis, the woke psychotics among us, this week Rand Paul, who's 99% great, and he was great this week, he decided to question this person, the biological male known as Dr. Rachel Levine, who is a transgender woman, but he's a biological male, so I'm using the correct pronoun of he. Rand Paul was questioning Dr. Rachel Levine this week when Dr. Rachel Levine, who is now the Barack O'Biden person who's going to lead the health department, whatever. Anyway, Dr. Rand Paul was questioning Dr. Rachel Levine, and he said, should boys and girls, prepubescent people, teenagers be allowed, 9 and 10-year-olds, be allowed to mutilate their bodies and take puberty blocking hormones, in effect changing their entire lives and their entire bodies forever? And Dr. Rachel Levine wouldn't answer the question. He said, well, the study of transgenderism is so just multifaceted and big, there's just a lot of new information out there that we can't really speak to. So basically wouldn't answer the question at all. But to his credit, Rand Paul kept asking the man with a wig and lipstick if prepubescent teenagers and children should be able to change their gender. And of course, no true answer was given. Now, if you believe that you can change your gender, you are also of the opinion that a face mask stops the virus particle that is 0.1 micrograms, and you also believe that men can control weather, and you also believe that conception does not begin, that life does not begin at conception, but at this magical time and place called when it's convenient for the woman. All of these things go hand in hand. So the left is so omnipresent, so overpowering. As I mentioned in last week's video, we're living several simultaneous lies all at once. But one person who is not living a lie, and I love her for it so much, is Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let me tell you, this woman has been a thorn in the left side ever since she got to Congress, and I live for it. She's basically me if I was in Congress. I'm just like, yes, girl, yes. She wears a mask on the floor that says, this mask is as useless as Joe Biden. And this week, she upped the ante when her hallmate, some far-left lunatic who has a transgender child, decided to put a transgender flag in her hallway saying, Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't believe that trans people have rights and believes that transgender people should be hunted down and killed, which is absolutely insane and never came out of her mouth. But again, there's not a defamation the left won't do. So Marjorie Taylor Greene decided to put in her hallway, because they're across the hall from each other. I mean, look, this is some petty junior high stuff, and I'm telling you, I'm living for it. So Marjorie Taylor Greene put in her hall, or on her wall, "There are only two genders, trust the science." It was brilliant. It was fabulous. So now they get to have this, sign off in the hallway of Congress, which, whatever, this woke psychopath started it, she finished it. So kudos to you, Marjorie Taylor Greene. And it just goes to show you, you've got to push back on these people. These people are not the majority. They are insane. Their orthodoxy is such, is that they all believe the same things, and they want total conformity, total unity of thought, of speech. And if you don't, they're going to come after you and ruin you. But remember, there are more of us than there are of them. If we don't start pushing back, and pushing back hard, like the brave employees of Coca-Cola did last week, bringing that how to be less white training video to the public's attention, and it's now been pulled. Hasbro is now backtracked. Look, you've got to push back. You got to do something. And this week at CPAC, James O'Keefe, who's the founder of Project Veritas, their motto is "Be brave, do something." And if you work in a corporation, or you work in an environment that is becoming insanely woke, and it's stupid and it makes no sense, and it's anti-science, anti-American, anti-logic, anti-humanity, you've got to stand up and push back on these people, because it's a paper tiger. They're a paper tiger. They're a Potemkin village. They look real pretty on the outside, and they look big and bad, and they look like they're ultra powerful. But when you push on it, it falls to pieces. They are the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and they have no power once you expose them. Just remember that, guys. You got to push back all the time. I want to get into this Netflix documentary, which got me thinking again to how these woke psychopaths don't like it when the joke's on them. There's this documentary. I love modern art, and I love watching documentaries. So when I saw this documentary, it's called Made You Look. It makes you feel kind of bad for the people that got scammed, but it's also really funny. So here's the premise. A lot of these, in the art world, there's very few pieces of art, so the prices can just get incredible, sky high for these pieces of art. Millions and millions of dollars for genuine Mark Rothkos and Jackson Pollocks and Franz Klein's, etc. So all these abstract expressionists of the 50s and 60s, their work is just, selling for, again, tens of millions of dollars. So what had happened was this lady, this Spanish lady, was working with this Chinese math professor, an immigrant from China, who was a really good artist, a good forger, who was able to forge these works of art. And then this woman sold them to this gallery, who then sold them to these wealthy oligarchs, multimillionaires, mostly white, by the way, these elitists, who then got suckered into buying all these pieces of art. And so at the end, these woke white elitists who would torment and torture the waitress, the pipe fitter, the roughneck, the teacher, anyone who they thought was a dangerous reactionary domestic terrorist. They would come right after them. But they're insulated from all that because they're woke millionaires. They got snookered, and they were so up in arms about it, thinking, how could this happen to us? This is terrible. And it got me to thinking about the GameStop thing, and how it's the little guy pushing back on the hedge fund managers or the big tech oligarchs and getting one over on them. And let me tell you, the woke police and the woke mob and the woke oligarchs, they do not like it when they are messed with. But it's up to us to mess with them, because it's really funny when you can get one over on them. and to score one for the little guy. And I'm not saying I'm glad that these people got scammed. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm not saying that. You know, these people were forgers, and, you know, it was fraud, and you need to be brought to justice for that. But it's just funny how these are the same people that would not have any qualms. These are the same people that would come after the McCluskeys in St. Louis, that couple that was trying to defend themselves against the woke Black Lives Matter and Antifa thugs last summer. These are the same people who support and defend the thugs of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, would come after anyone who went to the Trump protest on the Stop the Steal protest on January 6th. These are the same people who call all of us domestic terrorists. So it's funny when the woke elite get a little something back at them. I'm just saying. I'm trying to see if I've got everything done. Looking at my notes here. Oh, one more thing from the woke psychopaths this week that I noticed. Have you heard about the all-white channel? Oh, you haven't? Oh, it's inclusively white, and it's unapologetically white. Oh, wait, you didn't hear about that? Oh, that's right, because it's called the all-black channel. So again, these people are so hell-bent on keeping us separated and divided. And when I hear the words diversity, inclusion, tolerance, and equity, I shudder. Because at this point, those are the 4 scariest words in the English language. Because they mean the opposite of what they're supposed to actually mean. It's not diverse, it's not tolerant, they're not inclusive, and they don't want equity. They want to hate and kill whitey and punish whitey for being born with white skin. And if you don't have the right politics and you have white skin, then they think that they can make your life a living hell. You will be canceled, you will be doxxed, you will be fired. And this week, the all black channel, I noticed, is now on the forefront. And can you, again, imagine, if you will, if something called the all white channel came into being? I mean, literally, heads would be exploding, the world would stop spinning on its axis, and it just goes to show you what detestable hypocrites the left is. And I just want to close with that story and the fact that we are not now judged on content of character. We are solely judged on color of skin and, of course, the right ideology. Because if you have the right ideology and you're white, you get a pass. If you're a conservative and you're white and you believe that the election was stolen and you don't want to pay for people's abortions and you want a secure border and you believe in nationalism and you want lower taxes and you don't want a welfare cheats sucking off the government teat and you don't want illegal aliens sucking off the government teat and you don't want violent felons and thugs running your city, then you are to be destroyed. So that is the crossroads we're at in America right now. And it's not sustainable. We cannot have one set of rules for the woke elite and one set for the rest of us. So I don't know how this ends, except to say we have no power, we have no control, except in our own private lives and our own little platforms. That's why I say to you, get out there, get in their face, educate your left-wing neighbors and friends and co-workers, and don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid. There are more of us than there are of them. Trust me. If they were so sure that they were the majority, they would not need to silence all of us. They would not need to censor us. They would not need to burn books. They would not need to make our lives a living 1984 and Brave New World amalgam hell. If they were the majority, no. They want to mold and twist and shape us into believing their psychotic ideology. And I say, don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. So, guys, as I exit this week, I implore you, please, do like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley did this week at CPAC, and like Ron DeSantis did. You gotta push back. I almost forgot. This is gonna go over 20 minutes. Oh well. I almost forgot. Greg Abbott this week has said he is going to be lifting all the mandates very soon, including the mask mandates. And the woke mayor of Austin is wringing his hands, saying, oh, please don't lift the mask mandates. Please don't lift the mask mandates. You know why? Because it's going to show what a total scam this whole thing is. Masks don't do anything, and no masks don't do anything. If you wear a mask, if you don't wear a mask, it's same incidence of Rona. So it's just going to prove what an absolute scam this entire last year has been. But don't worry, Joe Biden and his mask policy is going to save America. It's all a bunch of crap. Anyway, I just wanted to leave it on that note and say, keep pressing ahead, keep fighting, and I'll see you next time. Bye.